Hi everyone, Simon from Horoma Studio. Today we're going to have a look at a new image that has been sent by Abderrahman Alterkawi. Really interesting image. I haven't taken the time to probably have a look at it, so I'll do this live, which might explain why sometimes I have some hesitation. Overall, the image is really nice. I like the overall mood, I think, is nice. The lighting is nice. The framing is interesting. There's many small details. There was a lot of attention to small details, so I think it's quite nice. The texturing has nice details as well. So yeah, the framing I think is okay. It's like a really simple frontal view with like slightly offset on the side. It's quite nice. It's sort of like centered around here, even though the lighting makes this part more interesting, which is something you have to keep in mind. I think in terms of contrast, it sort of works. There's a lot of noise, but I guess it's because he couldn't like render the thing for longer. It's actually fine because it's interesting. There's like a lot of like grudge or like dirt maps and stuff like that, which means that the noise is sort of okay. The thing is, makes it slightly hard to judge like some textures. So for instance here, like television maybe could get like a little bit of work. Here for instance it's a bit weird because everything seems super clean, whereas the rest of the image is fine. So coming back to composition, I think everything is nicely done. There's like a lot of interesting smaller areas and like details, so that is nice. The lighting is interesting, although I was filling with like some LUT earlier, and I think it could be interesting to have this slightly more intense, basically. So I would bump up this because this is already burned, so it's fine, it makes sense, and have like a little bit more bloom here would be interesting. One other thing I think that could be fine is that since you're having like a lot of like this idea of sort of not dirty but like old place, it would be fun to have like some sort of like God rays, but extremely subtle, because otherwise it would catch too much attention. But what would be fun is to have your God rays coming like that and have in the air like some sort of dust particles, so that it sort of adds to this idea of the sort of like old house or whatever. I think this is going to be interesting. There's one thing I'm really not convinced by is those 3 points here. They're actually like, since they're centered in the image, they actually catch a lot of attention, even though they're not really that interesting. I mean, they don't add, that's the thing, is like usually basically what you're more interested in is like sorry, I'm losing my layers. What you should be interested in is you have the light, and what is interesting and what it's used to light. So basically here we have two of these lights and we can't even see any light around it, so it makes them look a bit weird, and it's really well, basically not a good thing, because this catches your eye, but it doesn't even look realistic because it doesn't light anything. So it's a bit weird. Here, there's sort of something that could be interesting, because there's this idea of like maybe the light coming from behind the door. The thing is that having this sort of star-shaped thing make it look super weird. So I would rather go with like this light, for instance, here looks way better. So maybe have like more of a bloom effect rather than this sort of glare thing, because it really doesn't work. It catches the attention way too much, in my opinion. When it comes to texturing, as I said, it's really well done. We can see, but it's because I always look at it like a bit too intensely, but this, you have like a bit of tiling. So what is good to know is that now in the latest version of V-Ray and Corona, there's a UVW randomizer that does like stochastic tiling, which is extremely easy to use, and you basically get rid of this extremely easily, which is nice. As I said earlier, the texturing is really nice. There's like all this sort of wear and tear thing on the beams that is like really nicely done. in terms of color as well, I think the palette is interesting. I was wondering about this rug here because it is extremely bright and clean, and I'm not a super big fan of the texture, so I don't know if something else would work. Maybe you'd need something. I mean, everything is already quite neutral, so it's a bit complicated to choose something. So maybe you would want like a color that works with this, so maybe it could be, I don't know, green or blue or whatever. But I think also the issue is that it looks a bit flat at the moment, which is not really, I mean, basically the thing I think that is a bit, I mean, like the balance is that you could have like this sort of like old house with like new furniture and the furnitures are clean, or you could have like an old house with old furniture and you should have like a bit of dust everywhere and things like that. And right now there's a little bit of a mismatch because sometimes you have old stuff, sometimes you have brand new stuff, and you don't really understand then if this apartment is actually somewhere where people live or if it's like a sort of half abandoned thing. I think there's a something a little bit unclear at the moment, because you can have like really nice yet old looking furniture. This is fine. This, like for instance, I really like all this part here. It's beautifully textured and really nice. This as well works quite nicely. I really like how it sort of relates to this in terms of colors and the shape of the table, etc. It's really nice. Here I'm less convinced, and here even this I think I'm less convinced, because it sort of relates to that sort of type of decoration, but I find it's like a bit too much. So I would have, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't go with that kind of a thing. What else can I talk about? For sure I wouldn't add any people in there because it would be useless. Here you have like a tiny bit of burn area, which is, if you can get it back, it's better, because this is burnt, so it makes sense because it's the sky. This could potentially not be perfectly, like you could be slightly under, like before it gets burnt, and that would be nice. I really love the draping and the cloth simulation and all that thing. It's really well done, really good work. The floorboards are actually quite nice as well. I mean, the whole thing, the whole scene, sorry, is really good. So I don't think I have much to add. As I said, I was playing around with like lookup tables, and I think there's something that could be done to sort of take it slightly to the, I wouldn't say the next level, but it's like when you look at it, the original one, there's already an interesting contrast, but I think you can sort of bump it up slightly more, at least in some areas, to sort of make the thing pop out a little bit more without losing this sort of calmness or whatever that is, that I think is working quite well. So that will be it for this video. I hope you found some interesting tips and opinions on there that you can reuse in your next images. Yeah, feel free to send more images my way, because I'm always interested in sort of like analyzing things, and seems like people found it interesting so far, so might as well continue to it. So yeah, thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next Teardown. Cheers.